It had been 3 years since Jonathen Rook had left Earth, and he had become accustomed to the desolation of the outer worlds. As a scout for a colonization mission to the far-flung planets in the galaxy, Jonathen had traveled through barren planets, isolated moons, and lifeless asteroids. His mission was clear: find resources, survey planets for future settlement, and report any sign of life. But life had been scarce. One morning, as he roamed the dense forests of Zolan, a largely unexplored planet, Jonathen noticed something unusual. The forest was quiet, eerily so. The usual hum of alien creatures was missing, the rustling of wind in the trees barely audible. Then he saw her, lying unconscious on the ground, half hidden by a cluster of overgrown ferns, was a young alien girl. She appeared to be human in shape but was much more delicate, her skin glowing faintly blue under the shadow of the trees. She had silvery hair that shimmered like starlight and delicate, angular features. Jonathen knelt beside her, heart pounding in his chest. She was badly wounded, her body marked with deep gashes as though she had been through a brutal encounter. His first instinct was to call for help, but his communicator had been damaged during a crash landing, and he was alone on this forsaken planet. Without hesitation, he scooped her up in his arms and rushed back to his small camp. He had medical supplies, though rudimentary, but it was all he had. She was light, but there was an overwhelming fragility to her. Her breathing was shallow, and he could feel the warmth of her feverish skin as he laid her down. "Come on, stay with me," he muttered to himself. His hands were shaky as he administered a mix of antibiotics and healing agents, hoping against hope that he could do something. Hours passed, and the alien girl showed no sign of waking. Jonathen barely slept, sitting by her side, watching the small fire crackle in the center of his camp. He wondered who she was, where she had come from, and what kind of creature she truly was. Could she be a member of an advanced alien species? Or perhaps one of the mysterious beings who had once inhabited this planet long ago? When she finally stirred, it was barely noticeable at first. Her eyelids fluttered and her fingers twitched. Jonathen was by her side instantly, his breath catching in his throat. "Hey," he said softly, gently placing a hand on her shoulder. "You're safe now." Her eyes opened, revealing deep violet irises, filled with confusion. She gasped and looked around wildly, trying to move, but winced in pain. "Don't try to move. You're hurt," Jonathen warned, holding her down gently. Her voice was soft, almost musical. "Oh, who are you?" Her words were hesitant, as though speaking was a great effort. "Where am I? My name is Jonathen. I found you in the forest. You were hurt." He paused, considering his next words carefully. "You're not from around here, are you?" She stared at him for a long moment, her lips trembling. "No. I am from Aeronox. My ship, it was attacked." Jonathan's eyes widened. "You're from Aeronox. That's light years away. What happened to you?" I was separated from my crew," she explained, her voice growing weaker. "I was chased. I don't know if they're still alive." Jonathen felt a pang of sympathy for her. Whatever this girl was, she had been through something terrible. He couldn't leave her like this, alone and vulnerable in a dangerous wilderness. "You're safe now," he reassured her again, but there was a flicker of something in his mind, a thought he couldn't shake. He had been alone for far too long, isolated on this remote planet with no one to talk to, no one to share his thoughts with. And here she was, an alien, beautiful and mysterious, with stories of places he could never imagine. As the days passed, Jonathen continued to care for the alien girl. He learned that her name was Xera, and that she had been the sole survivor of an alien race called the Aranoxians. Her ship had been attacked by an unknown enemy, and she had fled to this planet in a desperate attempt to survive. She knew little about the assailants or their motives, and much of her memory was clouded by trauma. Jonathan did everything he could to help her recover. He built her a shelter, scouted for food, and made sure she had everything she needed. They talked often, and despite the vast cultural differences between them, they began to form a connection. But over time, Jonathan began to notice something strange. He found himself watching her more often, admiring her silvery hair, her violet eyes, the way her presence seemed to light up the dark corners of his lonely world. He hadn't expected to feel anything for her, but he couldn't help it. Xera was more than just a survivor. She was intelligent, resilient, and kind. She made him laugh, and when they sat together, their conversations felt like a glimpse into something larger than the universe he had known. Part 2. The Connection. Xera's strength returned slowly, and as she recovered, she grew more curious about the world around her. Jonathan taught her how to navigate the planet's wild terrain, how to use the primitive tools he had scavenged, and how to read the stars in the sky. It became clear that Xera was a quick learner, her alien intellect far surpassing Jonathan's own. One evening, as they sat by the fire, Xera looked at Jonathan with a quiet intensity. "I have been thinking," she said softly. "You have saved my life, Jonathan. You have cared for me, without asking for anything in return." Jonathan shrugged, his mind still grappling with the depth of his feelings for her. "It's the least I could do. You were in no condition to fend for yourself." Xera's gaze softened. "I don't just mean in the physical sense." She hesitated, her words trailing off. "I mean you have given me your time, your care, your companionship. You have made me feel not so alone. And that means more than I can express." Jonathan swallowed, suddenly aware of the closeness between them. He had spent countless nights alone, wishing for someone, anyone, to fill the void in his life. And now here she was. Jonathan began, but Xera reached out and gently touched his hand. Her touch was warm, comforting. "I know you are lonely," she said. "I can feel it in you. Him too. But I want you to know that you do not have to be alone anymore." Jonathan stared at her, overwhelmed by the truth of her words. He had never considered it before, but now that she had said it, it seemed so simple, so natural. He wanted to protect her, to be with her. He had come to realize that his feelings for Xera were more than just admiration. They were deeper, more complex. "Xera," Jonathan said softly, his voice low with emotion, "I can't imagine living another day without you. You've shown me what it means to truly care for someone again." Xera's violet eyes shimmered in the firelight. "And I feel the same, Jonathan. But there's something you must understand. I am not just an alien. My people, my culture, they don't." "I don't care about your culture," Jonathan interrupted gently, his hand reaching to cup her face. "I care about you." Xera smiled, her features softening. "Then I will stay if you will have me." Part 3. A New Beginning. As the days turned to weeks, Jonathan and Xera's bond grew stronger. They became more than just companions. They became partners. Xera had no idea what the future held, but with Jonathan, she felt a sense of peace she had never known before.